Welcome back into Ash Talk, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. I'm Jake, alongside Hayden, here, and it's been a little bit since we've done a podcast, but we're here. We're back.
It's been a little bit because it's been 9 degrees here in the state of Michigan. 'Cause it's, when you heat your finished garage so much,
I know,
stay warm. So
I know, but it's good to be back. We're here to smoke some cigars. We're here gonna preview all the football action that's coming up this weekend, and we are only a couple hours away from kickoff of the divisional rounds here in the NFL. Lot to catch up on, lot to get to. We're going to have your take it to the banks coming up later on. We're going to be showcasing just our take it to the banks for the divisional round. We're also going to be kind of just looking at that and seeing who we like to play in the championship games in the AFC and in the NFC. And we're also going to be doing some preview on the college football championship coming up on Monday as well. So, Hayden, first and foremost, what are you smoking today?
I am puffing on the old Opus X.
Oh wow! So you're going full bore.
I'm going full bore. Brought to you and made by our partner Fuente. And this is definitely what you would call a higher end cigar.
Yes,
Actually introduced to me by my partner and sidekick, Jake Danielson,
I
sitting
did.
to my right, your left.
I I told you the Opus X, the one that you're smoking right now, because that's a Lost City, correct?
Correct.
That is, in my humble opinion, the best cigar you can buy. So it's to be honest with you, it's such a good cigar. I'm shocked you're smoking it. I know it's the divisional round, but usually, that to me, the divisional round is the best weekend in football. This is, the high stakes game on Saturday and Sunday. To me, this is the best football weekend of the year. Um, and so I'm shocked you're smoking that. I'm shocked you're
It's for the fans,
it,
bro. It's for the
it's for the fans.
for the fans. This is probably this little guy right here. If you were to go and if you were to even find these, they're certainly not at every local cigar shop that you go to. They're pretty tough to find in some cases, but this is probably a $40 stick.
Yeah,
Just this little guy right here.
yeah.
So, if you're a newer smoker, I recommend you not jump to the Opus X first. Start with something big.
Yeah,
I mean, you can, but this could honestly ruin your cigar smoking experience.
because then everything else
Right.
after, yeah.
It's gonna be a drop.
Yep,
So you go to a
for sure.
$6 stick. Not that the cheaper the cigar means the worse the cigar, but like this is like the Lamborghini of cigars.
Yeah.
It'll be
Outside
better
of
than drop into a Trailblazer.
outside of going to Cuba and getting a Cuban, I mean, there's nothing really better than that. I mean, there's Padron 1926s and some other sticks that I really, really like, but everything kind of just falls short to the Opus. I've actually had another Opus. I think it's the Forbidden Opus X, which is very good. It's a very good cigar, but to me, I still longed for the Lost City. So, I mean, that's high end. What are your first initial thoughts? Just
So far, so good. I'm having a hard time keeping it lit. I feel like I'm gonna have to pump this one down. Just
well, you said a couple weeks ago that you had one, so I'm shocked you decided to break it out. But
I did. I had to break. I felt like it's the time. It's the time. It's a pre-celebratory cigar for a Lions loss.
we're gonna be getting into that with all the football action later on. I am smoking a Gurkha Castle Hall. Castle Hall. This is one Hayden just gave to me, so I told him I was gonna get him a Don Carlos later on as a thank you. But yeah, he gave me this Gurkha. Apparently, I think Gurkha has opened a factory in your basement, and you're
Yeah.
just they're just cranking them out. But so far, this Castle Hall pretty good. Very sweet. Has like a sweet wrapper.
Really?
Yeah.
What
So
are your
far,
thoughts on sweet cigars, man? I hope it. I'm not a big sweet cigar guy.
I'm not either. I mean, when I was younger, sure, like the Black and Milds and Swisher Sweets, but I didn't really know any better.
Right.
And so, it's for me, this is kind of just a good change of pace, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're just smoking, um, a lot of the Fuentes or a lot of the Olivas and stuff like that, getting back into something like this, just a change of pace would be good. So far, I mean, it um lit pretty well, staying lit. It's pretty good.
So just kind of one of those you'll just throw in if you're Clip Rod, or just
Yeah,
not messing around just to change pace.
yeah, or your football team completely collapsed or something like that. So,
Yeah.
because the last time
I wanna smoke something a little heavier.
last time we were with the audience, we were getting ready and prepared for the Lions versus Vikings.
Yep.
The big Week 18 showdown. And if you don't know and you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm a huge Minnesota sports fan and a huge Vikings fan. And Hayden, how did you handle your first Vikings heartbreak? How was it?
I tell you what, we've been talking about the overall disappointment that the state of Minnesota has in all things sports. And honestly, I said in the beginning of the year, because I kind of looked at the Vikings roster going into the season and I thought, man, I feel like this could be a really good year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to jump on the Minnesota bandwagon and I'm going to believe for the Minnesota miracle. And I was pretty.
I was trying to temper your
You
expectations.
were the whole season. You're like, dude, it's a long season. They're like 10-1. He's like, it's a long season. We're gonna blow it. And I'm like, dude, they're carving up defenses. They are putting up points. They are getting things done. And I got to experience what it's like to go through deep depression, anger, rage, all of those things at once. Watching the
Acceptance.
last
You're
acceptance.
getting into that acceptance phase
Right.
now.
Just watching them
So,
just get completely carved up and annihilated the last 2 games of the season that were, the most important games that they
mhm,
probably ever played in the at least the
right.
last, 20 years.
Well, so as a Vikings fan, so many people were asking me, they're like, "Oh, you gotta re-sign Sam Darnold. You got to. You can't let him walk out the door."
Yeah, I was.
And the dude lost about $100 million over the last 2 weeks because he just looked like a shell.
Yep.
He looked like the moment was too big, was holding on to the ball too long. I mean, it was literally like he just turned into New York Jets Sam Darnold.
Oh, man.
And it was a bad time to do that. I'm pretty much over it. I mean, I find it a little infuriating though when Lions fans are like, "See how it feels? See how it feels?" It's like, you guys didn't break me. I'm already broken.
Right.
Like
I'm already
I
a broken and contrite person.
I truly believe the Minnesota sports fan that's between the ages of 30 and 40 have it worse than any other sports fan ever. And I'll tell you why. Because everybody that's like 40 plus in the Minnesota sports world experienced the 87 and the 91 Twins when they won the World Series.
Right.
But I was born in 91, right after the Twins won the World Series. So I have not yet seen any of my four major pro sports teams go to a championship game. And so for me, it's like if you're in that 30 to 40 age range and you're a diehard Minnesota sports fan, it is brutal.
Yeah.
Because if you're from Cleveland and you cheer for all the Cleveland teams, well, you had LeBron in 2016,
Yep.
take the Cavs. If you're in Atlanta, you had the Braves win the World Series a couple years ago.
Yep.
You've seen the Cubs win the World Series. You've seen so as far as like a Minnesota sports fan, I don't know who is more cursed. And so for Lions fans to like see how it feels, it's like shut the hell up. You guys don't know what you're talking. You do not know what you're talking about.
Right.
And it's like, oh, the Lions broke it's like we've already been broken. The
Right.
Vikings literally have 60 plus seasons under their belt, and they've gone to the playoffs like 30 of the that means they go to the playoffs about 50% of their seasons.
Right.
They lead the league in the NFL in playoff losses. Okay, they've gone to 4 Super Bowls and lost. I know you're just getting more and more depressed as I give
Yeah.
you these.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bills here in
So
a while.
we're gonna talk about the Bills. So I just have to get off my soapbox and say I got to get on my soapbox and say, Lions fans, you're not telling us something that we don't already know. And we've had this conversation, and I think we should have this conversation just for a few minutes. Would you rather be a poverty franchise? And Detroit can't really complain because they had the Pistons in 2004 and 2005. They had the Red Wings that dominated for a quarter of a century and won multiple Stanley Cups. So it's like if you're in that 30 to 40 age range, you've experienced those too.
Right.
But my question is would you rather be a poverty franchise that can never win, or would you rather be a very, very good, well-run, organized franchise that can never win big? Never win at all. And as a Minnesota sports fan, we've seen both.
Right.
Because if you look at the Timberwolves, that was a poverty the Timberwolves were the Lions of the NBA for many, many years
Right.
post Kevin Garnett.
Right.
And the Vikings have just been a really well-run organization that can never win the Super Bowl. So what would you rather have?
You know, I think if I'm a player, um, I think if I'm a player, I would rather be on a pathetic franchise, and
Yeah.
the expectations are lower.
Yeah.
So if you do show up and you do play some big games and win some big games, maybe not go to the show, but like they weren't expecting you to do anything anyway.
Right.
So the pressure's off. But when you're like the Vikings or like the Penn States, where you're like a prime
Mhm.
premier team that can't get over the hump, and you know that you're just gonna go in and blow it
Because I truly
all season, and then you just lose in the first round.
I truly believe that has a that has an effect on a player. And a lot of people came up to me, "Well, they only were scheduled for 6.5 wins, they won 14 games. They overperformed." They didn't overperform because they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's
Right.
what we gotta as Minnesota sports fans, we need to stop settling and saying, "Oh, well, next year," and do this Minnesota nice bowl,
Right.
and we never win because we don't have the mindset of dominating and dominating
Yeah.
through, and I feel like because of it's gone on so long that no matter the franchise, no matter of the 4 major sports, it's crept in.
Yeah.
If you're the Wild and you go to the and you are in the playoffs, the Minnesota butt pucker, as I call it, where you go deep into the playoffs,
That's
happens.
Tucker with a P.
That happens. Like it's like Minnesota fans are ready for the other shoe to drop. And so as it takes a special it will take a special person, a special athlete, and a special coach for whoever those one of those 4 teams are to actually get over the hump. For me, having seen it with the Timberwolves and seen it with the Vikings, where it's like the Timberwolves, I stopped paying attention in October
Right.
because they're 2-22.
Right.
They're not going to win.
Right.
You can sit there and complain and everything like that, but you've checked out. Your hopes are already gone mid-season.
Right.
But when it gets to the creme de la creme, when it gets to crunch time and you can never seal the deal, you can never get it done. I mean, it's to me, it's worse.
Do you believe that the overall quote unquote curse actually plays into
Yeah.
the
I
actually like the mind games that actually plays into these types of games and
I
these
think
types of seasons?
I think it does. I think, there's an overall because if the players have any inkling of history, they'll know. Like the Bills, for instance, and I put the Bills and the Browns kind of as far as heartbreak is concerned, below the Vikings, but right there.
Yeah.
And I'm biased towards that, but
Mhm.
um as far as just overall heartbreak, you know, sadness.
Yeah.
Uh I just I believe it creeps in, and I believe it's crept in because you gotta understand Minnesota, when people think of Minnesota, they think, like, snow, they think I mean, Minneapolis, St. Paul is a top 15 market. I mean, 30 of the top 500 traded companies are in Minneapolis. You got Target, Best Buy, 3M, Kraft, Pillsbury, like, there's, like, tons of corporation it's an airline hub for Delta, like, people think of Minnesota, it's like, you gotta get out more if you think Minneapolis, St. Paul is a small market.
Right.
And so you have the 4 major sports teams there, and I think there is something psychologically there knowing that they haven't won anything since '91. And if you look at '87 and '91, it was a battle just to win that. It wasn't like we went in and dominated. I mean, that's why Kirby Puckett is probably one of the greatest Minnesota, if not the greatest Minnesota sports athlete of all time. But enough about Minnesota. I mean, it's just I will close by just saying, yes, that has a factor if you know anything about your history, because if you're an athlete, you know the history.
Right.
You're indoctrinated into it by playing for them.
Right.
So people that are saying, "Well, we don't really focus on that," and stuff like that, you have to have a lot of dogs in order to get over that. You look at, like, the 2016 Cubs when they broke the curse.
Yep.
They had Theo Epstein running it, who had already broken the Red Sox curse, and you had a bunch of dogs on that team that
Yeah.
were just refused to lose, and they went against the Indians in the World Series that, I mean, they hadn't won in a really long time, and so Cleveland was kinda starved for a championship as well, but they had LeBron just coming off his NBA Finals win, but,
Right.
yeah, I think you're denying the obvious if you don't think that plays a role in the longing for a championship in a sports town.
What do you think it takes to break that type of mindset, that type of curse, that type of, like, trajectory? Because you're looking at someone like Dan Campbell right now, who's coming in, and he is breaking some curses right now. And for
Um,
2 years now, he hasn't won,
you can't ca to
but
me to
how do you
me
break it? How do you get through?
to me as just a podcaster, sitting here smoking cigars in a garage, just watching it, 30,000-foot view, you have to not care to lose. And so I feel like so many times teams get to, "Oh my gosh, we're here. The stakes are really," if you have to play loose. You have to play like if we lose, we lose.
Right,
But it can't take away from your aggressiveness
right.
to win.
Yeah.
Have that intensity to win. But you can't get all clenched up and like, "Oh no, here it
You
comes
focus
again."
so much on the curse. You
Yeah,
focus so much on the what has been that you
right.
can really miss out on really doing something
And
cool.
I think Dan Campbell has done that with the fourth downs, with the grit mentality, with
Yep.
everything. And I think that loss in the NFC Championship game against the Niners actually strengthened them because Dan Campbell decided, "Hey, we're gonna die by fourth down." If he would have actually changed his coaching style just a little bit, he would have probably gone to the Super Bowl with that Lions team last year.
Yeah.
And he didn't. And he was going for it on fourth down, didn't settle for field goals because that's who he was. And
Right.
so staying true to who you are,
Yep.
not being afraid of losing
Yeah.
is the big thing. Because you gotta have that tenacity, you gotta have that will to win, right? Which
Mhm.
just takes over.
Right.
But when you get to the big clutch moments, you can't be afraid to lose. You still have to go for the win. And I think
Right.
a lot of teams just clench up and they get too nervous and they end up losing the game.
Or too reserved,
Yeah.
too conservative.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just, "Oh,"
They're playing not to
the
lose.
exactly,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Um, we've seen that with the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell refused to make adjustments.
Yep.
Refused it because this is how we got here, this is how we won.
Yep.
But you can't be afraid to change something and adjust and adapt
Yeah.
just because it's unfamiliar to you,
Yeah.
because it's clearly not working on the field.
Right. Right.
Um, so finding that balance, and I think Campbell's done a really, really good job. And I told you, I said Aaron Glenn might figure out a way to stop the Vikings, and he did,
He did.
and they got the number one seed.
Yeah.
And yeah, credit to him, man. And I said a couple weeks ago, I said I think they're going to put up 40 points, and I think they should have,
Yeah.
but they just didn't adapt. They knew Kevin O'Connell's play calls and play plan, and they just dominated.
Yeah. They did.
Um, and that's kinda par for the course, so
Yeah, it is. It is so funny because a lot of people were commenting on how could how could Minnesota score 40 points? They haven't scored 40 points all season.
well, they
Or
did.
like,
They scored 40 points against the Falcons, so just
right.
everybody calm
It's
down.
just interesting. But like, if you watched the Lions game against the Niners the week before
Right.
and how depleted their defense was and what the Niners were able to do, who's like not even close to the type of firepower that Minnesota has, you're
Mhm.
thinking, "Oh my gosh, like if this is what we're gonna see," it totally made sense to be able to
Well,
score.
you gotta think about it, these guys are paid professionals.
Yep,
Yes, they are banged up,
yep,
but on the same token, what did we every time we are, as sports fans, are convinced this is what's gonna happen on a high-end team like the Lions, the opposite happened.
yeah,
And so you automatically thought that, don't get me wrong, the Vikings had plenty of opportunities to put up points. So I think it was a combination of Sam Darnold looking rattled,
yep,
Aaron Glenn putting up a great game plan and putting pressure on him,
yep.
and Sam Darnold completely missing wide open receivers
Oh
and
my gosh.
just totally looking shell shocked.
Yeah,
Um, so but credit to Detroit, they figured out a way. And you got to think about it. You're a paid professional. You're hearing nonstop on posts and talk radio and podcasts and newspapers and everywhere in the media that you guys suck, that your
Right.
defense is a sieve, that it is terrible. So what do you think they did all week?
Right.
They went into the lab, they figured it out, they manned up, and they took care of business. Props to Anzalone coming back and
Yep.
playing with a broken forearm. I mean, that's
Yep.
the Lions showed you that they are a Super Bowl team, and the Vikings
Example.
completely shrunk in the moment, which is what I'm used to. I was ready for, I was prepared for,
Didn't
and
you have
ultimately what
money
happened.
against them, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I made like $200. I took $100 and bet 'em out on the Lions, and I took that and bet it immediately on the Rams. I told you that. I said when they were going to that wild card game, I said, "Bet heavy on the Rams." And you're like, "Why? Why? Sam Darnold's gonna come back." I said, "You can't outcoach a QB that's rattled."
Yeah, he's definitely
That's one of the things you can put together a good game plan and stuff like that, but if he looks rattled and he's hanging onto the ball for 5 and 6 seconds, you can't coach that out of somebody.
right.
They have to just be able to do it,
Right.
and he wasn't able to, and so, yeah, I made like $200 in 2 back-to-back weeks because, I mean, I had seen this. I almost turned it off in the 3rd quarter, Vikings-Rams, because I've seen this movie so many times. Why do I need to see it again? "Well, you're not a real fan. You're not a." I've seen it so many times. My parents were season ticket holders, okay? I literally my house is just covered in Viking stuff, okay? I still will cheer for them.
Yep.
But I've seen this enough that I have to guard my heart going forward. And so it was just like, but if you noticed on the last podcast, I really kind of started to get that belief in a little bit,
Yep.
and that's when they take it from you.
That's it.
So, anyway,
What do you think? Like, does Aaron Glenn does he stay another year in Detroit?
uh it's one of the things that always bothered me about coaches. It's like Ben Johnson, he's gonna interview here, and Aaron Glenn, he's gonna interview here. I would for me personally, I would be like, as a head coach, like, do not take it to my DCs and my OCs, I would be like, "Don't take any interviews until after the season.
Right. For sure.
Don't even talk to them because number 1, if they can't wait for you, then they didn't really want you.
Right.
Number 2, we're trying to prepare to win a Super Bowl."
For sure.
So I have always felt bad for teams that have really high-end, sought after OCs and DCs in the middle of their biggest games of the year being recruited by other teams. I hated that.
Yep.
I hated that. If you're it's hard because you wanna be a head coach, right? That's the next step.
Yeah.
But on the same token, it's like, you have worked so hard and your fans are so invested in this season.
Yep.
Why can't you just take a step back and wait 2 or 3 weeks and then go and interview for these places?
Yep.
Well, then they might hire somebody else. If they're not willing to wait for you, then I mean, we have a whole off season to deal with this.
Right. Absolutely.
Anyway, but I think Ben Johnson, I think Aaron Glenn, you know, I think they're both gonna get I would say Ben Johnson for sure is gonna get a head coaching job. Glenn might, he might not. Well, I think a lot depends on these next couple playoff games.
Mhm.
Um, but just I I mean, I forget what his name is, the OC for the Cowboys a couple years ago. I can't gosh, I can't remember his name, but he was a coach. But he was highly sought after to be a head coach, and the Cowboys went in and just laid an egg in the playoffs, and he never got a head coaching role. So it's like, why even ponder this idea until after the season's over? So I think Ben Johnson though for sure is going to be a head coach next year.
Yeah. What about your DC, Minnesota?
Flores, it's tricky. I hope he doesn't leave. I think, he just overperformed and the way he calls defenses, I just really liked. I think he was building something.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that he loves Minnesota. He likes Minnesota. His kids go to school there.
Yep.
He's also in the middle of a lawsuit with the league when he was with the Dolphins. So, I've heard the Bears are very, very interested in Brian Flores. I don't know how you go that route with Caleb Williams. I think you have to get an offensive coordinator in there like Ben Johnson.
Right.
I hope he doesn't leave, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's either gonna be a head coach or he's gonna be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league,
For sure.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so going shifting towards the Lions though, you said a couple weeks ago, you said they wouldn't win another game after that 49ers game.
Hey, man.
Are they good enough to go to have they done enough to convince you to go to the Super Bowl now?
I'll say this. I would not wanna play them. I'll say that. It's hard for me because 'cause I'm such an anti-Lions fan, but I don't wanna give them any credit or props.
Hey, I can't say nothing. I
Well,
can't say nothing, and personally, I kinda hope they go to the Super Bowl.
and lose,
Th
and just completely blow it.
I said 2 weeks ago, and I'm gonna stick by this prediction, the NFL wants the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, they want that more than anything. More than anything, they want the Chiefs and the Lions because you have your villain versus your hero in the biggest game of the year. I said that a couple weeks ago, I'm gonna stick by that. I would love to see, like, a Bills-Lions Super Bowl or, heck, even a Bills-Eagles Super Bowl would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think they definitely have enough. I mean, I said in my Take It to the Bank a couple weeks ago that the winner of the Vikings-Lions game was going to the Super Bowl. I have the Lions. They're going. They're going to the Super Bowl, and they're playing the Chiefs. So that's
You
what
got
the
so you
NFL wants.
so you're thinking Chiefs are going too?
Yeah, Chiefs and Lions. I'm telling you because that's what that I would be shocked if it's not that because the villain in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Lions being the hero is such a complex matchup.
Yeah.
And again, we're recording and filming this about an hour before kickoff with the Chiefs and Texans. Actually,
They're playing right
they're playing right now. They just kicked off. So yeah, I got the Chiefs going, but
Wow.
Chiefs and Lions. But
Okay.
let's talk about these games. So Texans Chiefs, who do you like since they're going on right now?
I mean, you can't you're gonna have to say Chiefs. Chiefs haven't done anything to say that they can't win. You know what I mean? Like, they've proved themselves, and they really haven't been beaten or challenged much. Well, they've been challenged, but they've won them all.
Right.
So I can't bet against the Chiefs, but I think that this is a unique matchup with the Texans.
Hmm.
So I would at least love to see somebody like take them down to the wire.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think it's going to happen today. I don't have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl though. So,
Well, let's go to our next game.
okay,
Bills Ravens.
diehard Bills fan,
I know.
just as depressed as the gentleman to my right roulette's about his team. Um, well, my take it to the bank. I'll just let you know right off the bat. I got Ravens beating Buffalo in
Really?
Buffalo. Um, simply
You
because
just don't want to talk about it because you're preparing.
yeah, it's so depressing. And last night, Jake and I were watching the Vikings documentary, the late '90s run.
1998 Missing Rings, if you haven't seen it, 1998 Missing Rings by NFL Network. I depressed Hayden to the point where he woke up this morning and said, "The Bills have no shot."
No shot. It's over. It is kind of like your verbiage was. I'm preparing my heart and have learned how to prepare my heart when it comes to the Bills. They can't get it done. Josh Allen cannot win the big games.
But they've been saying the same thing about Lamar.
Lamar has though.
He hasn't gone to a Super Bowl though. They've both gone to excuse me, they've both gone to AFC Championship games, but they've never gone to the Super Bowl. Neither one of them.
Now the one thing
And
that's
Patrick
interesting,
Mahomes wasn't even elected to the Pro Bowl. So if there's a time to do it, it's now.
I think the only things here to consider this game is Lamar doesn't always show up well in the big games.
Yeah, on his passing.
On his
Yeah.
passing. So, he's still gonna have 190 yards rushing like you always. And then they are in Buffalo, but I just feel like it's too good to be true.
The big question for me is can you stop Derrick Henry? Lamar's gonna get his.
Yeah.
Lamar's gonna run around and create and get first downs and lead them on drives and get touchdowns. Can you stop Derrick Henry from controlling the game is the big question.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you can.
I think it's gonna be really interesting. The Bills are kinda banged up defensively right now as well, and so fingers crossed. I mean, obviously, like how do you prepare against a high octane, high flying, big time running
Yeah.
type team?
Yeah.
They can sling it and run through, around, and over you.
Yep.
And so, like, who are you gonna key?
Mhm.
Who are you gonna key? I mean, for me, they had too many weapons compared to Buffalo.
I think Josh, uh, is going to put up some points, and I think the Bills have the offense to put up enough points. Is can the defense on the Bills side not get drug up and down the field and get maybe a turnover or two and just not have them completely roll them
Yeah.
in the offense and control the game
Yeah.
with Derrick Henry. That's the big thing is
Yeah.
can you get off the field on third downs, maybe create a couple turnovers a couple times in the
Right.
game. You don't have to do it every series.
And I think that's the key is it's a turnover game. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Neither team can really afford
Yep.
2 or 3 turnovers.
Yep.
You just can't. You gotta play dang near perfect to win this game. I
Yeah.
think it's a really cool matchup. It's a
Yeah,
good
I
match.
I think the Bills, for them to win this game, they have to get up and they have to get up early
Yep.
and force Lamar to bring the Ravens back
Right.
because I think you seen it in the Vikings-Lions game too, where the Lions and the Ravens can do this too. They just wear you down, where you get a couple stops, you're feeling okay,
Right.
and then when the late third, early fourth happens, your defense is gassed, you can't stop anybody, and then
Yep.
bang, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, they're running all over you. This is definitely the year of the running back in the NFL. You've seen what Saquon's doing. You look at what Derrick Henry's
Even
doing.
James Cook from the Bills.
James Cook with the Bills, very underrated. In my opinion, the most underrated running back in the NFL is James Cook right
Yep,
now.
for sure.
And so you've seen just this resurgence of the running back and how important it is
Yep.
because defenses are just so tired at the end of games
Yep.
that, yeah, you might have gone into the third quarter, you know, 10-13 or something like that, but oh my gosh, they just ran us up and down the field two times, and now it's 24-10, and we're scrambling to get back into the game in the fourth quarter. You got to avoid that if you're the Bills, and so if it's Josh Allen, you can't start off slow. You have to get up on the team and get up on them early.
Yep.
If you don't, I could see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson frustrating that Bills defense
Yep.
and ending up winning the game.
Yep.
I still like the Bills. I'm gonna take them just because they're in Buffalo. I think Josh can do just enough. We'll see.
Yeah.
And I think the defense can do enough to hang on.
Mm.
The real question is I would like to see Buffalo come up and be up 10 to 14 points at the end of the first half. And then we kind of have a game because you know that the Ravens are going to come back
Right.
with that running game and take that running game and allow them to not have to utilize it
Right.
late in the game.
Yep.
But you got the Ravens. That's your ticket to the
Yep.
bank.
I'm preparing my heart, man. And I hope to God that I'm wrong. I hope to God that I'm wrong. But Josh Allen hasn't proven it to me. And as a fan,
You've said that a lot. You said that a lot.
so if you're gonna be great, you gotta make it to the show at the very least.
Right.
Get to the show. And he hasn't been able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's
times
so
where
much
he
pressure
looks
on
like
both these
for
quarterbacks.
sure. And there's times where he looks like a Hall of Fame quarterback, and there's times where he looks like an absolute rookie, throwing stupid balls, making stupid mistakes,
Yeah.
not sliding when he needs to slide, taking shots. I mean, so I hope, but he has been maturing, over the years. This year specifically, I've seen a lot of maturity in him. Not that my opinion matters at all. I'm just I'm just a podcaster in the garage, but I have seen a lot of maturity in him, and which I appreciate because his body's getting older. You can't just keep taking these hits.
Right.
But he is and has a couple of times this year had to literally put the team on his back. And it's getting too late in the season, and you're playing teams now where you just can't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to require a little bit more effort from other people.
It's going to take a total team effort when you're
100%.
playing teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So we'll see. That's definitely the game of the week. Sunday night.
Yep.
I believe it's on NBC. So
Yep.
switching to the NFC
Yep. Here we go.
tonight, Lions and Commanders. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Fox.
I'm actually really excited to watch.
You have been, me and Hayden have went out on the just roaming around the town yesterday or whatever, and you're just going up to go Commanders, go Commanders.
Right. I was at church. All these people are coming in with Lions jerseys. I'm just letting them know, go Commanders, go Commanders. They didn't like that. And I think it's fantastic. Nothing makes me happier than just getting skin of a lion.
I think you hate the Lions more than you like the Bills.
I think so. I struggle with, and it's funny because I feel like the Bills fans are the exact same. But the Lions have had 2 good seasons in 70 years.
Yeah.
And you would think that they're the cream of
the
crop.
Bill Belichick
Yeah,
Patriots in the
right.
mid 2000s, and it's
Right.
like, guys, you had an amazing season, and you went to the NFC Championship game last year, but you guys are, and that's the thing. This Lions team reminds me so much of the '98 Vikings because they were rolling teams. Both teams are rolling teams. Feels like nobody can stop them.
Yep.
And there is same with Vikings fans, and now you're seeing it with Lions fans. There's almost like an assumption we're gonna win the Super Bowl.
For sure.
That is a dangerous
Dangerous place.
place to be. I'm telling you that right now. It's a dangerous place to when you think that you are going to win the Super Bowl and you haven't even gone to the NFC Championship game yet.
Right.
It's a bad place to be. You need to be hungry. You need to feel like nothing is given to you. It's
Yep.
one of the reasons why the Patriots were so good is because they had the talent, but they had the drive from Bill Belichick through Tom Brady
Yep.
to stay hungry. Stay hungry. We ain't that good. We haven't done anything yet. We haven't done anything yet. It's the Kobe interview.
Yep. For sure.
What's there to celebrate?
Right.
We haven't done anything yet. Job's not finished.
Right.
Job's not finished.
Yep.
And so if I'm a Lions fan, I'm a little bit hesitant in being like, guys, it's a long road.
And this might be one of those
I
things.
still have the Lions winning, by the way.
And I do too. It is what it is. But this could also be interesting. The bye weeks sometimes could kill you. So we'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders come in after their big win and beat the Lions.
Yeah.
In Ford Field. And if that happens, oh my gosh, we're gonna get on another podcast tonight. We're gonna talk all about it. And I can't wait to engage with all the Lions fans. Comment, send the comment. I'm just gonna marvel in that. I don't care how dumb I sound.
I think I'm showing them a little grace. I try to show them a little grace just because even though I told them to shut the hell up a few minutes ago because they act like us Vikings fans have no idea what heartbreak is, which is just like mind numbing in and of itself. But I think being in Michigan, I think there are some true Lions fans that have been there through thick and thin that have been waiting for this moment. And I kind of root for them just because any team that has had that long of history, whether it's the Bills, the Lions, that haven't won a Super Bowl, I get their pain, I get their frustration being a Vikings fan. So I wouldn't of the NFC teams that are left, I would like to see the Lions go, and I think they're good enough to go, and I think they will go. That's why I'm picking the Lions against the Commanders. Now you want the Commanders to win,
But to go to Ford Field and beat the Lions.
Jaden Daniels, man. Jaden Daniels, I will say, is the most composed rookie quarterback I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, he's a fun guy to watch.
He is very fun to watch.
This is where legends are made.
Yep.
I mean, it's where legends are made. Show up. Okay, I'll respect him so much if he just takes him down to the wire. If you don't win, but man, you lose by 3 points, you know what I mean? In a rowdy ruckus.
This feels like a lot like C.J. Stroud last year.
It does.
Jaden does.
It has
Yeah.
that C.J. Stroud vibe.
Where they're good,
Yeah.
they're exciting,
Yeah.
but they're just not good enough that year.
Right. Jared Goff to me is, I don't think he's got enough praise.
No.
Dude's disgusting. You talk about
Well-
MVP, that dude should be in the top 3 for MVP to me. That dude is dang near perfect at quarterback.
He is. He's very good. You got to also acknowledge what's around him.
For sure.
You have a running game. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's probably the top 2 or 3 running back in the NFL right now.
Which helps, but he's still throwing for 400 yards a game.
And you have an offensive line that can give you time, and you have an offensive coordinator that's enabling you to be great. I mean, I've always thought Jared was a good to elite level, depending on the day.
Yeah.
The other thing you got to keep in mind, though, too, and keep your mind on this with Jared Goff, is that when he played in that Super Bowl for the Rams against the Patriots, he went Sam Darnold on him. He felt like it was way too big of a moment, and they got pressure on it. They got pressure on him. I know, and I think there's enough smarts with Ben and with the offensive line and with Jahmyr and Amon-Ra and J-Mo and all those tools to help him not fall like that.
Right.
But that did happen. So I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying we've seen it before.
I'd be perfectly okay with that happening. I mean, like, go for it, man. Go golf. Let's see.
But I do agree with you. I don't think he's gotten enough praise, but he's been given a Ferrari to drive in this offense, and he's done a really good job. So you can't blame him for having the Ferrari.
Right.
All you can do is say he's driving the wheels off it and doing a good job and not wrecking the car.
Yep. So
So you think Lions win, but you're cheering for the Commanders.
cheering for the Commanders.
Okay.
Loud. Loud.
Sunday night,
Yep.
Eagles at home against the Rams.
Eagles fly, baby.
Yeah. I'm in agreement there.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it. Like,
Mhm.
I think on paper they have the best team in the NFL.
Well, and I told you that like 98 reminded me so much of this Lions team reminds me so much of the 98 Vikings. Not as high flying as I mean, really good offense.
Right.
Um, but in that season, the Falcons
Yep.
quietly were 14-2 as well.
Yep.
They weren't getting the praise and everything like that because the Vikings at that time broke the offensive record
Yep.
in 98. But it reminds me so much of when the Falcons just with Jamal Anderson and Chris Chandler and all those tools and pieces just quietly went 14-2. We're seeing that again with the Eagles.
Yep.
I'm in total agreement where I think they could win and go to the Super Bowl and win.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think Eagles, Lions, they're clearly the two best teams in the NFC. Vikings, it was a nice run. Rams, they performed well last week and everything, but they're going to come up just short against the Eagles. I got the Eagles and Lions in the NFC title game, and I got the Chiefs and the Bills in the AFC title game.
Now,
So.
big shout out to Sean McVay though. I mean,
Oh yeah,
he had the boys ready.
He
last
did.
Week. And
Jared
stuff
Verse,
like that.
Jared Verse, I had to me he's like rookie of the year. He has changed that defense.
Yes.
And they came ready to play. They knew what they were going to do. Matthew is still Matthew.
Yep.
It'll be interesting. But again, LA team in cold Philly
We'll see.
on grass, not in the dome with that turf, that changes things.
Yep. But if he shows up like he did last week, man, it might be an interesting game to watch.
I think the best home field advantage outside of Buffalo this week is Philly. Philly is such a tough place to play. It's grass. It's at the link. That puts it over the top for me, where I don't see the Rams competing.
Yeah.
Very much in that game. I mean, I would probably take the Eagles, by a touchdown or 10 points.
By 10, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in the Eagles. Have been all year.
Yep.
I just think they have so many weapons, and they're the more complete team.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the NFL wants to see. I mean, the Eagles with that complete team going into Ford Field with the hostile environment
Right.
against the Lions. I think that's what we're going to get next week.
Yeah.
And so those are our picks.
Yep. What if we're both wrong?
We could be.
This is Commanders.
Yeah, it's the Commanders and Texans in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine?
Kind of cool though. That wouldn't be bad. It's not gonna happen, but it would be fun to see.
I'd be okay with it.
Hey, and if it does happen, we'll come back and edit it and put this in. But
That's right.
I got Chiefs Lions, villain versus hero. That's what the NFL wants. Roger called it in, so that's what we're gonna see.
Okay. We'll see. I hope not. I hope not. I'd be so.
And Chiefs and Eagles would be. I'm sorry, but that's a Super Bowl I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I really don't. It could very well end up happening, but
I just don't see the Chiefs going, man.
we'll see. There's something there, man. Black magic
Wow. Bills already have their number.
in the
And-
season, but
right, in the season. And the Ravens.
who knows? Who
I
knows?
don't know, man. We'll see.
Texans and Commanders. That's what I'm going with.
That's it. Mark it down. That's your take it to the bank.
Yep. No, my take it to the bank is that the Lions beat the Commanders tonight. They will beat the Commanders.
What a risky.
I
Take it to the bank.
It's not risky, but okay, fine. Lions beat the Commanders by more than a touchdown. Is that good enough for you?
Okay. Yeah. That's perfect. That's better than just beat them.
Okay. More than a touchdown. I think the Lions take care of business. I wouldn't be surprised if this is over by the fourth quarter. Could be wrong, but that's what I'm feeling.
Okay.
All right. We started with the NFL, and we closed the casket on the Vikings season.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
So let's talk college football.
Yep.
the Natty next week. You kind of predicted it.
Yep.
Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Yep.
Notre Dame's getting 8.5 points on Monday.
Unbelievable. I didn't even know that.
You think that's low or high?
I think it's high. I don't know what Vegas knows. I mean, holy smokes, 8.5. Have they not watched what Ohio State could do
Yeah.
offensively?
Yep.
Have they not watched what they've done to Texas? Have they not watched? Like, they have the most unbelievable team. I think Ohio State takes care of business handily. Notre Dame can't score.
Um,
They can't score. They have a hard time scoring. You got to score more than 20 points to beat Ohio State, man. You have to. Ohio State's Ohio State, man. And again, as a Michigan fan, I hate this. I hate this national championship because I hate both teams.
who would you have rather had in the national championship?
Michigan and no.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk about not putting enough points, and you put Michigan in there?
Yeah, no. I out of these 12 teams, I thought it would have been cool to see a I kind of would have liked to see Penn State in.
Yeah.
Uh
But Notre Dame was just I think Notre Dame was just better than
and I said it.
and this ain't
Course that no
saying
talking about.
I would definitely bet on Notre Dame to cover because I think their defense is that good. I think their defense can stay with Ohio State. Game favors them if they can keep it low scoring early on.
Coming out, their players are coming out this week saying we're not changing our game plan. We don't care. We're playing man. We don't care who they have, no matter what wide receivers they have, whatever they're going to play man. And I think anybody that plays man against these guys, it's going to be a long, long day.
Well, I think they have to take the Dan Campbell approach and basically hold and jam and get them off their routes. And if you take a holding call, you take a PI, hey, you're just going to take them, but you're not going to beat us. You can't call holding and PI on every single play.
You can't, but Ohio State now is like the momentum actually is in the run game. Judkins and Travion Henderson, they're both 100-yard backs right now, looking really, really good. Both getting a touchdown maybe or two each game, big runs. And so,
Will you be mad if Ohio State wins the Natty?
Yeah,
Because that was your ticket to the bank a couple weeks ago.
yeah,
But
but
have to wait and see.
I would be mad that they won, but happy that I called it.
Yeah.
The reason why I think it'll take away the sting of the Michigan Ohio State game.
Are you just coping right now, thinking it's all Buckeye all time?
Yeah, I would love to see them lose simply because now they can't say, well, at least we won the national championship. That Michigan game didn't matter, which we all know it mattered.
Yeah.
But I think it'll take away the sting a little bit, and it'll kind of quiet us Michigan fans a little bit because we all know
Yeah.
the loss, and then watching Notre
Head to head though is a lot different, and you can Michigan can come right back and say we lost our head coach and all these players and everything like that. So it's like, but we still beat you,
right,
so it doesn't,
right.
And I think it does. It takes that. It gives Ohio State a little bit of like
And momentum going into the next year,
yeah,
and I don't like that.
yeah.
Although I think Michigan
More so
loaded
for like
up
recruiting and stuff like that.
yeah, recruiting and now they've been there. Ryan Day got over the hump, and they could become they're primed to become the next Georgia.
Yeah.
I fundamentally believe it. And
Yeah.
again, as a Michigan fan, I hate to say it.
I will say this is not going to be a Notre Dame team that lays down like it did against Alabama in the championship game.
No, it got beat
10 or yeah, like 12 years ago or whatever.
Manti
Manti and that whole I think this Notre Dame is so much better defensively. The big question for them is can the QB for Notre Dame perform? Can he kind of go full JJ McCarthy and extend the drives and keep it out of their hands and stuff like that?
Yep. He's gonna have
That's gonna be a tall task, difficult task to do.
yeah.
But I'm telling you, this is gonna be a close game. Anybody that is saying Ohio State's gonna blow out Notre Dame, they're not going to. They're not going to.
11 plus.
No.
Yeah.
They will not blow out this Notre Dame team.
I think they're gonna beat them by a minimum of 11 points.
No. I would take that 8.5 on Notre Dame.
No way.
We'll see.
Do you have Notre Dame winning?
I don't have them winning, but thinking this is gonna be a blowout, I don't see that. I really don't see that happening. I think Notre Dame's defense is so much better than what people think, and I think Freeman's going to have them ready to play. I just don't think Leonard is that good enough of a quarterback. Now, could Ohio State be leading by 3 or 4 points and then the defense kind of gives up because Leonard isn't playing very well and Ohio State puts up a touchdown and wins by 10? Yeah, that can happen. But is this going to be a blowout by the end of the first half like some people think it's going to be? No, it's not.
I mean, this has the makings to be one of the worst national championships.
I don't think so.
These are two of the most hated teams on top of that.
Yeah. Well, they're two of the biggest, most prominent universities out there as well.
Yeah.
But I don't see the way that Notre Dame played against Penn State, and I know Penn State got routed pretty hard against Ohio State. If you look at that Ohio State Penn State game, Penn State made a lot of dumb mistakes too. And so if Notre Dame can limit the turnovers and Leonard can not wreck the game, I think they can keep it close.
Which he has the ability to do.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the defense is going to keep them in that game more than what people think. If you think Ohio State's going to come in and put up 40 hang 40 on this Notre Dame defense, that's not happening. I'm telling you, that's not happening.
We'll see.
And if it does, I'm a Minnesota sports fan. I've been wrong many times, many times.
Yeah,
So
it's reality. So we'll see. We'll see what happens out there, world. I'd be interested to see what your take is going to be, because
yeah, make sure you like and subscribe.
yeah,
We're
very good at doing that. Tell me, just like, subscribe, comment, but just
don't. If you don't want to, whatever. We don't care.
yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? Just whatever, dude. Fine.
Make sure you like and subscribe, and then you hear the little ding in the background. Ding. Like, whatever. I just need to get all this hatred off my chest. That's really why I'm here.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you, for sure. So,
But how's the Opus X?
I'll be honest, I wasn't very, didn't enjoy it.
That's appalling. That's appalling.
Really disappointing. I had to
That's
work
a you problem. That is a you problem.
It is. Because I've had an Opus X and I really enjoyed it. This one, if you were watching this podcast, you see I had a lot of trouble trying to just keep it lit. And I don't like doing that. And so that's part of my problem.
Too wet?
I don't know. It just kind of, you have to keep drawing out of it. What do we got here? What's the score? 6-3. So
Yep. 3 at the end of the first.
But
close to the end of the first.
If I were to go from the previous Opus X that I've had, I'd say a 5 out of 5 bands. But this one, I'm gonna go 3 out of 5 bands. It's a little peppery. On the back end again. Yeah. On the back end of this, it was smooth in the beginning, and then it, cigars change flavor a little bit as you get down to it. And I'm not a big time like peppery cigar guy, and this has a significant amount of peppery right now. So I'll finish it, but it's just
That's
I'm bummed.
that's like heartbreaking.
A car payment on. So, there's that. That's how you could go broke, and angry, in this world of cigars, smoking. But hey, you're not always gonna win.
Surprisingly, on my side with this Gurkha Castle Hall, I liked it.
Really?
Well, it had a lot of there was like a lot of smoke that was coming out. It's a bigger cigar.
Yeah.
Good like flavors, a little bit of sweetness, but not overpowering. Like sometimes when you smoke like acids or something like that, something like that, it's like it feels like I'm smoking a sugar cane for goodness sake. And this had that little bit of that, but it wasn't so overpowering. Then it just kind of had a normal cigar feel. I really enjoyed it. I'd give it 4 out of 5 bands.
Wow.
4 out of 5 bands.
Gurkha, do you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Gurkha train now.
That's it. Don't sleep on Gurkhas out there, man. We'll keep talking about Gurkhas in here.
Well, we've
There are like one of the top rated cigars in America.
Really?
Is a Gurkha. If you get like the aficionado,
Yeah.
you'll see them at the top. Top 3.
Interesting.
So yeah,
You also see Opus X.
You also see them out there as well. I'm disappointed because when I smoked one with you when we were in Omaha, that was like primo. This one just didn't hit. So it could be
Feel so
drinking this,
sad for you.
it could have something to do with this, Pellegrino
Yeah,
that I'm drinking too that might play into it, but
interesting.
that's that.
That's that. Well, coming up to, we're gonna take you to the end of the football season with the college football playoff. We're gonna be taking you to the end of the NFL season with the Super Bowl. So we're gonna be having a lot more podcasts coming up after that. We're gonna be getting into a little bit of hockey, a little bit of NBA as those seasons are already underway, but kind of getting into the main rhythm of it. We're also gonna be talking a lot of the NFL draft
Yep.
coming up, which is gonna be very exciting.
This is gonna be an exciting draft.
It is. This is one of those drafts where it's like I really have no idea. Like Cam Ward's projected number 1 right now.
Isn't it in Minnesota?
It's in Green Bay.
Green Bay, okay.
It's in Green Bay. So the draft's at Lambeau, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Will be kind of fun. So we'll have all that. We'll have free agency reaction coming up in March for the NFL season. So even though as we're coming to an end here in the football season, we're gonna have tons
There's
of
a lot more to talk.
football stuff to talk about.
Yep.
Um coming up in free agency in March as well. So
Yep.
that's going to be a lot of fun talking about the draft. We're going to have a blast because then, like we've said, Hayden's more of the college guy. I'm more of the pro guy. Draft. That's where those things meet.
Sauce is made.
That's where the sauce is made.
Yeah.
That's right. So any other final thoughts, Hayden?
No, just excited about kind of seeing what happens here in the Super Bowl, seeing what happens tonight and tomorrow, and
You said you were sad that the NFL season or the football season was coming to a close. Or you're
yeah. I mean, I think all of us, if you're a football fan, you're sad, and I
'cause
did
most of the
feel
teams are out too. So it's
right,
like,
right. That doesn't help. I did feel like with the college football playoff expansion, there was part of me that felt it was a little long.
yeah,
Um, which obviously I would assume that was not what they want me to feel. They
yeah,
want me to feel like, "Oh, we're not waiting so long. There's more games being played. We're continuing to get through the Super Bowl." But, like, I'm good. I'm good for this season to be kinda capped off here on Monday night with Notre Dame and Ohio State because 'cause I'm really trying to shift.
yeah,
This is fun right now,
yeah.
playoff time, and it's like, "Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
let's wrap it up."
you could see both college and NFL totally redoing their seating for postseason play.
For sure.
And
For
I
sure.
mean, wild card weekend was for me anyway was take the Vikings game out of it, but just the rest of wild card weekend was terrible.
Yep.
Like it was just like the 2 seed beats the 7 seed. I think they're like 9-1 since this new
Right.
reseeding and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and so the NFL needs to figure it out
Sure.
because these postseason games are like, especially wild card weekend, are just bad. They're
Yeah.
bad, and I think you need to. They won't do it, but I think you need to go back to 6 teams,
Yep.
and then just let the top 2 teams of the NFL have your first round buys, and then and then 3 through 6 play each other.
Yeah. That would
3, 4, 5, and 6, and that's how you do it. But they won't because that's revenue they're counting on already. So, but
all
yeah,
about money.
it was just kind of disappointed. Like the college football playoff too. I mean, I think they need to do it another year, and they will
Yeah.
just figure it out. But yeah, I mean, Boise State getting and Arizona State getting first round buys, like that's we got to figure out a better system than that.
For sure.
So all right, well, that's going to do it for us. We got a lot more content coming for you guys, so sure you guys stick around for that. And until then, make sure you get into your humidor today, go light up, and watch some sports.
Watch some sport.